Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Well, Saturday, whatever. Is it Sunday in the Middle East? Who the fuck knows? Well, it's UFC 250 something on Saturday. Camera's over here, isn't it? And some people are going to fight in an undisclosed location. That location is an island in the Middle East. Is that right? And I gotta tell you, I am stoked. Should I be more excited about Israel Adesanya versus Paolo Costa? Probably. Why am I not? I don't know. Is this the best way to start off a video? I mean, I should probably be like, "Fuck you, motherfucker, yeah, ah!" Right? But it's more like, well, there's not a whole lot else going on, so sure, I'd appreciate watching some fisticuffs on a Saturday. So I want to get to the fights coming up this Saturday, but let's just go through some headlines real quick. McGregor leaks white DMs. Wanted fights with Sanchez. Gaethje. Conor McGregor wanting to fight Diego Sanchez is the saddest shit I've ever seen. Leaky white DMs. You should probably get that checked out. McGregor, I'm boxing Pacquiao in the Middle East. Fucking anything goes in the Middle East. Oh, this was my favorite headline from MMAJunkie.com. Israel Adesanya versus Paolo Costa may not prove historical, but certainly should not be missed. Okay. Sold. 1-year-old boy receives life-saving treatment with help of Bellator's Pitbull brothers. Well, that narrows it down. Shane Young confuses Dana White. Now, this is very controversial because I'm sure even though Shane Young, by all appearances, is a young Caucasian man, he very well may be of Maori descent and have every right to lay claim to Maori traditions such as the haka. But anyone who has watched enough New Zealand sports knows that white people love to haka too. Now, if we were having this fight in, say, Wellington, New Zealand, or Auckland, New Zealand, or even Christchurch, New Zealand, yes, I can name up to 3 cities in New Zealand, it would be appropriate to walk up to another human being and beat your chest and scream in what can only be assumed is an actual language. But this is Abu Dhabi, man. That's just not going to fly. You can't just go to any part of the world you want and walk up and screaming at people and say, "Oh, that's my culture." Okay, that's not fair, right? This is fighting, like not one of your uncivilized sports that you have in New Zealand. Like, what sports do they play in New Zealand? Shane Young starts doing the haka, and you can tell he's nervous to do the haka. You're supposed to really put your ass into the haka. You're supposed to really sit down into it, and the guy barely gets a knee bend going. You know, you should be displaying the power of your loins. And Shane Young is like, he can barely be bothered to put a bounce in his step as he's slapping his chest and yelling. From viral Best Buy incident to UFC security, Summer Tapasa on unexpected life change. Well, I gotta see what this is about. It's always interesting being told that someone became a viral sensation this year when you've never heard of them. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Okay, so she tackled some dude who was trying to come into her Best Buy. All right. This is boring. I was going to make a joke about how her name kind of sounds like Tuivasa and maybe she likes to drink beer out of a shoe, but I don't know. It's a cloudy day. I don't feel like making jokes. You can't cancel Colby Covington. Oh my God, shut up. All right, it's not much for news. Let's get into the upcoming event. This is your official UFC 253 Adesanya versus Costa breakdown. So let's start with the preliminary card, which, don't you love how there's a preliminary card and then there's a preliminary card? That's how it's officially listed. Okay. Kadis Ibragimov versus Danilo Marcus. Well, obviously, Kadis Ibragimov is famous for his Juan Espino, El Guapo versus Jeff Hughes. Don't know who Jeff Hughes is, but I know who Juan Espino is. Therefore, Juan Espino by first round TKO. Alexa Kamur versus William Knight. Now that's confusing. Alexa. It's a man named Alexa, which I wish I was a bigger person. I wish I didn't feel the need to comment on that. But that dude has a girl's name. What's up with that? Ludovic Klein versus Shane Young. Obviously, Shane Young came out with the very poorly executed haka, so I have to go with Ludovic Klein. Oh, and Ludovic Klein missed weight as well, egregiously. So yeah, he's definitely going to win. Jake Matthews versus Diego Sanchez. I think I saw Diego Sanchez was like plus 500 or 700. It's ridiculous. Jake Matthews is all right. I mean, I don't know. That honestly, that's the kind of fight that I'm into. That's just some weird shit. You have Jake Matthews, who was like the next great hope for Australia to have a champion, and he didn't really become. Well, he didn't. How do I say this diplomatically? He's not that good, but he is good enough, and this is going to be an interesting fight. It could be a lot more competitive than you might guess. Alex da Silva versus Brad Riddell. These sound like fighters that you know, but they're not fighters you know. You don't know who these guys are. I will take Alex da Silva by first round reverse scissor. Is that a thing? Hakeem Dawodu versus Zubaira Tukhugov in a 150-pound catchweight. Now, the term catchweight comes from
back in the day when hunting for market was so common that they would still have to set a price for poultry or game that you could sell. So you would have a deal with the distributor, and this could apply to small farms as well. You could make a deal with the distributor for a certain weight per pound, but then that could be adjusted depending on the weight of the actual animals delivered at the time of harvest.
And that is the catch weight. And that's why there's a sense of an adjustability to the weight. Anyways, Hakeem Dawodu and Zubaira Tukhugov. Zubaira came in overweight. Probably some shifty Russian dude with a beard, right? So Zubaira Tukhugov by first round spinning back fist. Sijara Eubanks, Sayara? Is it a soft J? Sihara Eubanks versus Ketlin Vieira. I went to school with a girl named Jennifer Eubanks, and she was really nice and pretty. Ketlin Vieira. She sounds Brazilian? Tough. Always bet on black. Kai Kara France versus Brandon Royval. I believe Kai Kara France is from New Zealand. Did he do a haka? No? Okay, we'll go with him. Kai Kara France by first round. What's a different way to win? DQ due to dick strikes. Jan Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes. Now, Yanni Blackjacks is the underdog, and Dominic Reyes is the overdog. And who would I pick to win? Well, Dominic Reyes beat John Jones, or very nearly beat John Jones, and Jan Blachowicz hasn't. So therefore, by the transverse property of almost beating John Jones, Dominic Reyes by first round, I'm going to say crane kick to the solar plexus. You can take that to the bank, but not on Saturday because banks are closed. And then we have Israel Adesanya versus Paolo Costa. Now, here's where my breakdown gets very scientific, okay? We have Israel Adesanya, who is really, really good at MMA, I guess. He's a striking phenom, even though his striking has never totally made sense to me. In his first big fight in the UFC, he pretended to pull his penis out and urinate all over the cage. And ever since then, I've just been kind of like, what's going on here? And then everybody loves him and like says he's such a great guy. And it sounds like he is. But why do you gotta pull your imaginary dick out and pee everywhere if you're just gonna end up being nice guy Israel? Like, I don't know. I guess like with a lot of things in life, you kind of go in thinking you're gonna front one way, and then people find out who you really are, And in this case, it actually worked out for Israel Adesanya. You can call that the reverse John Jones. But mybookie.ag gave me a $10 free bet. And so since it was a free bet, I went to look at the odds, and I saw that Paolo Costa by decision was a plus 600. Therefore, considering it was free money, and that was going to give me the best chance of actually making a bunch of money off of my free money, my pick is Paolo Costa by decision. Now, that's obviously pulled straight out of my ass because of circumstances, but I think it's actually not a crazy pick. Israel Adesanya hasn't been through too many UFC fights. I mean, we've seen him, he had like 3 or 4 big fights before he fought for the title. He knocked out Robert Whittaker, which was legitimately amazing. His fight with, God, what's that guy's fucking name? Yoel Romero was completely forgettable. So we haven't really seen his title run yet. At least not enough to like say we really know what's going to happen here. And Paolo Costa, Borrachinha, which remember when he used to go by Little Rubber? When we first were like getting on Google Translate, being like, Borrachinha, what does that mean? Little Rubber. Turns out it means eraser, which is way cooler than Little Rubber. Thanks Google Translate for fucking that up. Anyway, what I like about Paolo Costa, honestly, is that he kind of just like runs at people and slings hammers at them. He's kind of got a Fedor Emelianenko-esque, but upgraded for 2020 style of fighting, similar to sort of a Thiago Marreta Santos. Let me put it this way, if Paolo Costa got a giant tattoo of a hammer or any kind of weapon in this general vicinity, you'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. And you know what? I'm always down to watch some dude like that fight. And I have nothing against Israel Adesanya. He does seem like a legitimately great guy. It's nice to have a champion who you can actually root for if you got to know the person, which this just brings up how shitty the UFC is at promoting their very promotable stars. Israel Adesanya is a real character, apparently. Like, I just keep hearing third hand. Like, I'm constantly paying attention to this sport, and I'm having to, like, get little tidbits here and there about how cool Israel Adesanya is, but, like, the UFC isn't telling me, and there's nothing direct coming to me that's explaining to me and letting me enjoy how cool Israel Adesanya is. So, what a joke, right? Either way, we're going to have a kick-ass champion on Sunday morning. So that's good. And here's looking on the bright side. And then we got a shit ton of more UFC events pretty much every weekend till the end of the year. How do I feel about that? Good. Yeah. I'm down to watch a bunch of events that are staffed largely by people I don't know. It's kind of like, do you need to know the name of the valet or the bellhop when you walk into the hotel? No, you just toss them your car keys and say, you know. But yeah, I mean, these are just some, you know, drooling clowns who have been flown to the Middle East like young white women being, I can't say that, like, actually a pretty good metaphor. Hello, Alexa Kamur, beautiful UFC fighter, send her up to my suite after the fight. And the prince's personal valet is like, you know that's a guy, right? Ooh, light heavyweight from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Is he from Bosnia or Herzegovina? Sir, I believe he's from Herzegovina, West Herzegovina. And the prince would be like, well, I've never slept with a large man from West Herzegovina. Where was I? Clowns being shipped to the Middle East like white women. An Arab prince having sex with Alexa Kamur. Yeah. I think that about sums it up. Anyways, that's my rundown of the latest news in MMA and my predictions for UFC 253. So obviously you'll want to subscribe and like this video to get more quality content like this. West Herzegovina, born and raised.